And we're back with Season 5, Episode 19, the one where Pinkie Pie knows. This is the episode in which Pinkie Pie is made aware of a secret that Shining Armor and Cadence are going to have a child, and so, she's going to have to keep it a secret. And she has a couple of difficulties doing exactly that. Not that I blame her. This is better than I thought it would be. I have to be honest. And yeah, Mare, not quite as good. So this is the first episode by G.M. Barrow, I think. Is that name? Hang on. So first episode by this individual, whoever they are. Here it is. G.M. Barrow. Yep, no, I have it written down right. Just making sure. There we go. Cupcake icing records. Do you think that's per day? Like, so many cupcakes iced in a day? In an hour? It can't be without a break, because she actively takes a break in order to do these other things, and she mentions that she's still going to have a chance to beat her record today. It can't be total, because every cupcake she ices would be total. So Mrs. Cake comes in. They're having a baby, but it's a top secret surprise. Wait, that means I have to keep this super exciting news to myself? Two things. First of all, man, I feel that. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But second of all, one of the things that I've grown to like more as I get older is low-stakes stories. Oh, don't mistake me, I still like saving the world. I mean, yeah, Weouds, but there needs to be a record, or track, right? Like, even I speedrun. I don't care what my speedrun timing is per ever people, but there's a measure, right? There's a metric there. Anyways, so low-level, low-stakes stories can still be interesting, dramatic, involving, whatever, right? And the older I get, the more I see stories that do a good job with this kind of a thing. In fact, someday I'd really like to do this kind of a story as far as a long-term arc myself. But yeah, lower decks kind of stuff, or, slice of life kind of stuff, or just low-tier stuff, Not everything has to be the end of the world. Now, I do like end-of-the-world stories, and I'm with Weouds, basically. I like having my high-stakes stuff, I like having my low-stakes stuff. And having a nice balance between the two kind of helps me. So having this kind of stuff, I'm with it, this because if you don't understand, the only thing at stake here is not spoiling a surprise. That's it. That is the full extent of how far this needs to go. And even last week's episode you might say is low stakes, but actually, the character development of Twilight Diamond and the Cutie Mark Crusaders getting their Cutie Marks is actually kind of middle to high stakes, right? Like, that's actually a reasonably big deal. This, by contrast, is way lower tier, which is exactly my point. And of course, later on, we'll see the destruction of all reality, so that's kind of higher tier stakes from this. But that's exactly my point. I like the gradient. I like seeing multiple stuff on this bar. But yeah, I totally feel you on that, or totally feel her on that one. But before we get to that, we were talking about rare pair-ups when we covered the Rarity and Rainbow Dash episode where she was investigating. I know, right? I say Ross. I looked it up. We have had almost no Rarity and Pinkie Pie team-ups up to this point. It's just interesting to me that, we talked about this last time this came up, of the 6, if you chart it out, like if you make a chart and you could see all the different possible combinations, even if you just use a factor of 2, never mind if you go up to 3. And it's weird how few there are when it comes to factors of 2. Just interesting. Again, we'll see where this goes going forwards. I just wanted to comment on that really quick. So Pinkie Pie is just so excited to share in the announcement, and she just can't help herself. She even is saying it along with it. We'll come back to that. Let's circle back around to that later. Twilight is like, oh god, I've been so excited, it's hard to keep it to myself. So one of the things this episode does well is there's a lot of little visual gags, very short little things. This is one of those episodes that doesn't make me laugh a lot, but had me smiling quite a bit. You know what I mean? Like, I was grinning through most of the episode. Like, there's this tiny little ant that comes in and sees Fluttershy and goes, ah! It just runs, you know, just little stuff like that. Little moments throughout the whole thing. Very, very well animated, very well presented. I have a couple comments about that I'll come up to later, but I just wanted to share that. And Spike commits the ultimate sin of any comic book collector. Mint in bag. Thanks, Spike. Appreciate it. You notice that they named the little doll Brutus? Nice little Roman parallel there. Yeah, I know, right, S.A. Ross? Yeah, it's Spike, who is already into comics. I like how Rarity is, once again, the one who comes up to Pinkie Pie. You will have to live with the guilt of spoiling that forever. It is nice that the team actually notices that Pinkie is acting off. Because, this is going to sound strange here, but I actually firmly think that... how do I phrase this? That Pinkie Pie's, it's pretty easy to tell when she's acting off. Oh, she is quirky, right? But it's kind of like Weoud said in chat earlier. She is very herself and very not herself. And I don't know, maybe it's just me and I analyze people for a living and have done so since I was a child. But I think it's pretty easy to tell when Pinkie Pie is acting off. We've seen it before, in fact. In fact, we'll see it again literally in about 20 minutes here when we cover the very next episode. However, this is not me complaining. Quite the contrary, I like that her friends actually freaking pick up on it. I've said this so many times, one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to fiction is when a character is acting off, either because something's bothering them, or because they're on drugs, or alcohol, or an alien's possessed them, or maybe they've lost their memories, or whatever. It depends on the show. But it's a common theme. Someone's acting off and nobody notices. Bugs the crap out of me when that happens. Star Trek is very bad about that. So I like that they notice, and they even bring it up later, which we'll come to in just a minute. And yeah, I like that Miss Pie. So then Pinkie Pie rushes home. She's like, okay, I did it. I'm safe. Hey, you're ready to deliver those pies for me, right? Flashback to the past, and she says, oh yeah, I totally will commit to doing this thing for you. I'll have no giant, emotionally exhausting surprise I have to keep to myself or anything. So, do you think that's just her being her? Or do you think that some of her Pinkie sense was actually kicking in there? That she could actually kind of tell? Because that was pretty recent, and her Pinkie sense doesn't go that far into the future. So it's actually, I mean, forgive me for thinking about the world building of a gag, but I think it's within the realm of feasibility that Pinkie was just kind of catching a bit of the radar, so to speak, that something would be happening, and she was just kind of going along with it, because, yeah, whatever. The third thing I was going to mention, and this is Weoud's idea, you keep getting there before I do, sir. It could have just been her memory, rewriting her memory. In short, think of it as that's not what actually happened, that's her reciting it, effectively. So, you know, hi, ten-headed Hydra. Ten-headed Hydra, my goodness. So, in other words, think about if she was telling this to someone else and she adds, oh, yeah, no, and I thought to myself, there will definitely not be any super emotionally devastating thing. And so, you know, elaborate, that's not the word. I can't think of the word. Adding to with flair. There's a word for that. So, she decides, okay, fine, I have to do it. She did make a Pinkie promise. She keeps her Pinkie promises. Embellishing, that's the word, thank you. So she goes out, and the first thing that happens is the Cutie Mark Crusaders come by. Do you have any gossip? Nope, bye. And then she goes to Fluttershy. And Fluttershy, of course, like I said, there's a lot of little gags. I'm just kind of fast-forwarding through several of these, but there's this bit where her mask ends up on Fluttershy's tail. And then a gentleman walks up with a nice long pink beard. Ma'am. Little stuff like that. And then we got to a part, and this is probably there's only two real topics I have for today. This is a good overall episode, but I only have two topics. She has to start delivering cakes creatively, which is kind of sweet, but actually pretty cool the way they do it and the way she does it. And she does get pretty creative with it. I want to make a video game about that now. No, hear me out. It's a stealth-focused game. If you're detected, you fail. You lose the map. And your job is to deliver something. And you have all kinds of tools, and there's all kinds of stuff in the terrain that you can use, right? Like, think Hitman 2, but instead of killing, it's delivery, is kind of the direction I'm thinking in terms of the gameplay loop. Imagine, like, okay, so there's a tree over there, so I could get some height, but I need to get something to come in with it. If I go over to the shop here and I buy this crossbow, then I could go over up the tree and add some tool building kit idea. I just think this would be a really cool game idea. Maybe my mind's just kind of going that direction because we recently saw a bunch of indie games announced that were cool concept games. I think this could be a cool concept game, right? Like, okay, so let's go and do... Hang on, so I'm going to attach this item to the crossbow, and it's going to allow it to shoot farther, so I can shoot from over here, but then I need to get further up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a ladder over here into this section. Okay, and there we go. And then shoot the line down, and then I have to dovetail the cake onto that and slide it in. And then, like we could add on to that, like there could be like a bonus points for... ghosting, basically. So you'd have to do something to get rid of the line, for example. Or maybe the line wouldn't work at all because they would notice the cake coming in, and you have to deliver the cake without them noticing the delivery at all. I just think that would be a really cool game idea. Ninja cake deliveries, maybe? Ghost cake delivery? I don't know. We could workshop it. I'm sorry, I'll shut up now. So, I mentioned good visual stuff, good storyboarding. There's this bit where she's looking in the window to some random pony, and the image in the window, the reflection, turns into Rarity's face, which then turns into Pinkie Pie's face. It's really simple stuff like that, but it's good. It's good creative transitions, and it just helps sell the story quite well. And I like giving credit where credit is due because that kind of stuff is good storyboarding. And yeah, as usual, Tabitha St. Germain is amazing. So this is probably a good time to talk about the other story point that I mentioned. Spoilers and mentions. Because that's what this episode is kind of about in a nutshell. How many of you don't like spoilers? Assuming you know, spoilers in the traditional sense. Spoilers you are not seeking out. Spoilers you do not wish. You're looking forward to X movie or X game or X book or X show, and someone says, hey, did you find out it was his sled yet? Now, being anti-spoilers is easy to understand. What I kind of like about this episode is it shows the other side of that a little bit. How hard it is. Yeah, no, I've never had to deal with that in my career as Eros. What this episode kind of shows is the other side of that. How hard it is to not spoil yourself. Because there's no malice here. I mean... The assholes are assholes, right? The guys driving by the theater, leaning out the window, shouting spoilers to the people lining up in the line. Yes, that's a real incident that happened. Those people are just dicks. I'm talking about normal people. You know, people who are just really excited about something. And they just can't wait to enthuse about it, right? And they're just like, oh... And sometimes they try to hold themselves back, and they're like, yeah, but I really want to share such and such, or I really... I have had a recent experience with this with Halo. You guys, well, I say you guys, my viewers at the time, spoiled a fairly large amount of stuff for me during the Halo run. Not out of malice. There was nobody who jumped in and said it was his sled. Instead, they were just like, oh man, it's that scene. Oh, this person's totally going to be such and such. Yeah, that cutscene totally means this thing. And just, they would comment. Because they were excited, they were enthused, and they just couldn't wait to share that stuff. And, yeah. That's exactly where Pinkie Pie's at in this one. This is also one of the reasons... Yeah, no, I didn't, S.A. Ross, which is astonishing. This is one of the reasons why I try to divine it between spoilers and mentions, because they really are two kind of separate categories. Spoiling is obvious. It was his sled. But mentions can spoil an experience, too. This is one of the reasons I am at no mention status when it comes to Cyberpunk. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear it. And going full nuclear, well, it's... We've gotten to the point, historically speaking, where we actually have counter-spoiler culture now. Thanks for that. Or it's actually counter-anti-spoiler. Let's say that more accurately. Counter-anti-spoiler culture. Because some people will say, well, who cares about spoilers for a 20-year-old thing? And some people will say, I'm so sick of having to constantly dance around things because spoilers. But I try to be nice and... nice. I'm just going to stop with that. Because again, I feel Pinkie in this. I've been there. I have actually been the person who has had to keep my mouth shut and just kind of go along with the thing. I've actually gotten pretty good at it over the years. I didn't used to be. I used to be a lot worse. Like someone's going through the movie and they're like, man, I wish there was some sleds in this. And I would say something like, you'll see later. You know, basically screwing it up by simply saying that I have effectively spoiled it, right? I used to be much worse about that. I've gotten better over the years. I've gotten better at just not reacting or just being, or kind of distracting. Like someone say, oh man, I hope there's some sleds in this. And I would immediately be like, sleds are okay, but you know it'd be really cool if we see some skis in this movie. And just kind of segue the topic, you know, to kind of drift it away from it. That's usually the approach I use nowadays. You'll notice Pinkie Pie does this exact thing several times in this episode. Where she tried, yeah, I agree, Ross, where she's like, there's a lot of other things I know that you don't know. Oh, wait, I just said something. And she catches herself, too. It's just interesting. Because at the end of the day, it really is just a matter of enthusiasm. I mean, yeah, the dicks are dicks. Like I said, that's a separate category. But sometimes people are just really into something. And they can't wait to share it. We are social beings as a species. So it is very logical for people to want to share. Putting thumbnails in a WoW video, kind of being like, oh man, Lune Ruth, I can't wait to hear your thoughts about such and such, is more of just that enthusiasm thing. That, man, I can't wait kind of a thing, right? And it's easy to understand, even though it's immensely frustrating. This is why I tried so hard not to lose my temper during that Halo low run, or the Halo premiere run. Because basically everyone who was spoiling wasn't doing so to be a dick. They were just really looking forward to my thoughts and my views on certain scenes, and so I'm just like, okay. Thanks for that. In fact, I only actually lost my temper once that whole run, and I managed to keep it pretty down low. I just said, all right, Spartan, could you please chill? I'm just, you're aggravating me here, please. And that's about as far as I got. Because it's understandable. And yeah, this is exactly why I practice no mentioning. Don't even bring it up. That is exactly why that phrase came into being. Don't even bring it up. I don't even want to hear about Cyberpunk right now, for example. I don't even want it to be a topic. And people, and I've had people reach out to me and be like, okay, I know you don't want any spoilers, and don't worry, this isn't any spoilers, but, and I've cut them off. No. I'll talk about it in a week, okay? Chill. That's no mentioning. Because, and that may seem a little bit nuclear, and I could agree with that, but it is, through long and hard experience, one of the best ways to approach that. To just absolutely block off the whole category and say, nope, and there's a nice big wall here, right? But man, I feel for Pinkie Pie. I really do. I'll give you an example. I remember sitting down and watching Lord of the Rings movies for the first time with someone. And I was just sitting there, just clamping my mouth shut, because I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, of course, and this was the first time they'd seen it, and so I'm just like, I mean, I was doing a pretty good job of it, but internally, I was going exactly through what Pinkie Pie was going through. And as soon as something would happen, I'd be like, uh-huh. Yeah. Exactly, Darth Mordoro. I feel for her. Anyway, sorry. So that's the big topic. Let's move forward a little bit. So then she finds out that she's had 3 more Pinkie Promises that she has to fulfill today. Which, I like her line. I've been getting liberal with those Pinkie Promises lately. This is actually some surprisingly nice foreshadowing. First, we see Featherweight, who is in on it, as we find out later, and mentions he wants a baby pony, but it would be a royal pain. Because he's been having trouble keeping it in, too. Then we go to the mayor. Now, the mayor's the most overt one. She's the one who really wants to spill the beans, and is frankly doing a worse job than Pinkie at it. And yeah, the furniture salesman was the third one. It's surprisingly good foreshadowing. There's even this great bit where she's like, speaking of secrets, have you ever known someone else's secrets? No! Me neither. And she says it all pained-like. And yeah, they also mention, once again, Pinkie Pie is excellent at filing. So, yeah, that's logical. And then, yeah, the big crib sale. Trust your foal like royalty. Also, wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man. So here's what I'm going to do. I think that is absolutely a continuity counter for her. But several people have brought up counter-continuity counters, and I have to actually agree on both of these. The one is about Spike. Spike should know better. He's a comic aficionado. He already knows that he can accidentally blow fire. He should totally know better than to burn that down. What the crap. And yeah, Pinkie, I hate to say this, but as much as I am completely with her this whole episode, Pinkie Pie is excellent at keeping surprises. Demonstrably proven already. So, yeah, no, she really should be very practiced and experienced at doing those. Apparently my counts are actually wrong. This should be a 7. I have a local one and the online one here, so I'm just kind of bouncing between these two. Anyways, we could argue that, you keep getting there before me. We could argue that this is just something that's so big and so personal and so awesome that it's a lot harder to keep a secret than a surprise party or whatever. And it's worth noting she does keep it a secret the whole episode in terms of credit. I might be talked down from that continuity counter. Now I'm thinking it out. Because what happens next is actually probably my second favorite scene in the whole episode. Her friends, who I remind you have noted that she's acting out of character, out of behavior, are like, "Are you okay? Talk to us." It really seems like there's something you want to get off your chest, and we're here for you. And they notice, and they're supportive, and they're helpful, and I love it. They are exactly what friends, frankly, should be in that moment. It is perhaps ironic, because it's exactly what she doesn't need, but it is still exactly the right way to approach that, and I love that. There's even this bit where Spike says, "You'll feel so much better once you tell us whatever's bothering you." And it's so innocent. I love it. I love it. And yeah, this is exactly what Star Trek should have had. There should have been moments where Picard's acting out of order and someone should have come by and been like, "So, Jean-Luc, we need to have a talk, you know?" Anyways. So, she is like, and then the shining armor interrupts it. Now, this is the interesting part, because she technically did fail to keep the secret. She pulled the trigger, so to speak. The bullet didn't come out of the gun, but she did pull the trigger. So, interesting to think about. This then leads to a random thing where I'm gonna keep this brief, because I know you guys hate it when I talk about politics, war, and economics. World building stuff. But Cadence mentions that they had to go to a summit and they had to go to Meritonia. I wonder how busy the two of them have been, constantly reaching out ambassadorially to all the other nations and all the other cities in the equestrian area to keep the Crystal Empire relevant. To keep them, to get them involved in modern politics, in modern trade, in modern culture, in modern tourism, in modern exchange. Yeah, exactly. The Crystal Empire is still relatively recent on the board. And I really like the idea that they have been running around like crazy, basically on a multi, going to multiple visits per week is what it sounds like, as they mention it here. Because they had to slot in time to come out here for effectively a day in order to give this announcement. And this is a big deal, too, and they still had to work at it to slot this into their schedule, right? Yeah, imagine if Carthage just, right now, that'd be a trip, wouldn't it? And they're like, oh god, hey. So I really like that idea, and I like that little tidbit. So that would also qualify as a continuity counter for me, the way I've been doing these. Yeah, exactly. They have a train. In fact, they have multiple trains, but they also have their own personal train, which we've seen them use before. So, and yeah, absolutely hosting the Equestria Games is part of that. I said that back in that episode as well. Anyways, enough boring stuff. Shining Armor's reaction is adorable. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I've got my thing. Oh, my dude. Oh god, my comics! And none of it's voiced. None of it's voiced. He's just, Love the expressions. Did you notice the Archie and Jughead thing? I think that's the second time they've shown up, the Archie and Jughead comics. And that's, of course, amusing in its own right, because there are literally Archie comics for MLP, because Archie Comics is like the comics for shows nowadays. Isn't Archie Comics the one doing the MLP Transformers stuff, or am I misremembering? Because I know that's under Hasbro in general. Hang on. Now I'm curious. Now you got me thinking. Hang on a second. Is it IDW? What's this? No, that's not them. Oh, you're right. There it is. IDW right there. Oh, my bad. I wonder if Archie did do anything with them. Huh. I'm actually a little bit surprised by that, if I'm being completely real. I mean, for those of you not aware, Archie Comics has done a huge amount of stuff. Some really good stuff, too. In my opinion, the best Mega Man stories we've ever had are in Archie Comics. Same with Sonic, by the way. Also, the Sonic Mega Man crossover was actually really good. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, getting back on track. So our friends are super supportive. Shining is freaked out. We have the summit thing. Scavenger Hunt. I used to do those. I used to set up scavenger hunts. I haven't had the opportunity to do so in a very long time. And I certainly couldn't do it under the current environment. But I would totally do that. I would totally do scavenger hunts for my niece if opportunity arose. Because I'm a geek, I guess. I don't know. I love the idea. I love the idea. There's an episode of Star Trek, to keep paralleling Star Trek here, where Thomas Riker has Deanna Troi do a scavenger hunt throughout the Enterprise. And it's actually pretty sweet and pretty cool. Anyways. And yeah, Pinkie Pie is... oh, yeah, an AR scavenger hunt. Oh my god, that's another game idea. I keep having so many game ideas. And yeah, Twilight's pretty excited because she's going to get a book after all. And she used to do this when she was younger. But Pinkie Pie's like, let's go! Which is just... and this is where I really started laughing throughout most of this thing. Because this whole section is just hilarious. Featherweight, of course, notices him. Makes his move. Papers. Get your papers. Hello. He also makes a sale in the process, so that's nice. Then we go to the Mayor. She is far more overt than Mr. Featherweight was. She is literally pacing. Just like... and she sees them and she's like, hi! You're just waiting for them to show up. And then Pinkie Pie shows up and, you know, talks. No, shush, Mayor, shush. Yeah, the Mayor almost spills the beans there. And she starts literally trotting in place because how excited she is. So, naturally, Pinkie Pie immediately finds Applejack's birth certificate, because filing experience, we already talked about this. Applejack is very cute as a baby. We'll actually see her in the future, I think. And then there's this great bit where they're like, you need to... I forget the clue. I should have wrote it down. But it's like, you should go to the furniture store. And Pinkie Pie is like, right out the window. Pause. She comes back. Really? It's this thing! It's the furniture store! And she shoves all of them to the furniture store and just waits there. And Twilight's like, I don't know. And Pinkie's like, ah! And goes through, smashes through the place, pulls at the thing, and it's just has this expression. Here's the next step. Like I said, this whole section had a smile on me for pretty much the whole scene as she's rushing through it. To go back to spoiling, the hardest time in my experience to not spoil for someone else is when you're right there. If you're going to a movie with someone who's never seen it before, it's not super hard to spoil. But when you're watching the movie, it gets harder. And when you get right up to the moment, when like something big's about to happen, it's like you're sitting there like... I mean, you want to see their reaction, right? You want them to enjoy that moment that you have enjoyed so well. It's shared enthusiasm, like I said. And so, you see how Pinkie is just getting worse and worse and worse about it as she's flipping out because she's right there at the moment and she's just, come on, come on, come on. Okay, they're there. They know. I can relax. Yeah, exactly, Lord Harriman. The announcement itself is my other favorite part of this episode. The earlier thing with the friends being supportive is nice. This is actually a really wholesome scene. You know, hey, we're having a baby, and Pinkie is just super happy about it, and Shining and Cadence are super happy about it. Twilight is like, I'm going to be an aunt? Or an aunt? I forget how she says it. But, you know, there's just this moment of, like, slight disbelief of... And yeah, she breaks into her various animation pieces. I would actually agree, Weods, on this particular point. It's a great scene. Hugs. This is a random side thought to mention here, but Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash can fly. I don't know why this is never really... Oh, it was a thing, Baron. I was the second person to find out, too. This is a weird time to comment on this, but for some reason I've never commented on this before. There is a quiet brilliance, and I'm sure they didn't do this on purpose, to having a species that flies in a two-dimensional animation. Why? Anybody who's ever worked with any form of blocking, either in theater or on television or just drawing a picture, will tell you that filling out the 2D space... no, I was second after my sister, Flutter. Anyways, filling out a 2D space is, and all the characters are down here, actually is pretty irritating and frustrating to do. It's one of the reasons so much of animation will try to do different angles. But when you're in the 2D, when you're in the straight shot, what do? Well, if you have flyers, they can be up here, and you can fill out the space better, and they're not so crowded and clustered. And I don't know why I've never noticed this before, but they do this a lot on this show, where the flyers will fly for no other reason than the fact that that way they're not all clumped together in one bundle down below. They do this in this very scene where Rainbow and Fluttershy are up there on top. Just something I wanted to mention. Yeah, there's a reason why Rainbow and well, Rainbow is the big one, but Fluttershy falls into this too when she's in a group, are almost never just standing amongst the group unless we're at a different camera angle. Final thought. How many of you have ever seen me do something where I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine, guys? I don't know if I got that from this show, but I noticed at the end that Pinkie does that exact same thing. Oh, it was easy. And she just does that right at the camera. I don't know if she's referencing something that I am also referencing, or if I'm just referencing her. But that kind of surprised me, because it wasn't deliberate. There's no deliberate thought in my head to do that, as is evident by the fact that it was actually a surprise when I saw it. I was just like, wait, what? She does that? Okay. You know, I don't know. Just something to comment on. We need to rate this episode. Thoughts? I'm going to get ready for the next one here really quick, because the next one... What is the next one? Hearthbreakers. That should be interesting. By Nick Confalone. Yeah, I honestly, I could see this as being above average. Legitimately. Aw. I even gave the announcement just for you, Lord Harriman. And I mean, anyone else who needs it, but you were the one who commented on it, so... Yeah, I'm not sure it rises to red either. It feels like a shame to say that. Because it's a good episode, but it is ultimately a humor episode. And it's just kind of, yeah, no, it's good, it's good. I think I'm going to agree with Orange here. We don't need to give every episode a red. But I will say this was impressive. I honestly was not thinking I was going to like this anywhere near as much as I did. So, the MLP channel, Lord Harriman. I'm not sure where else I would do so exactly. So that is it for this one. I'm going to go and chop off the local recording.